Good evening. Thank you for joining us and welcome to this Explore Occupational Therapy pre-registration MSc webinar. My name is Kerry and I'm a Student Recruitment Manager here at St George's, and I will be the host for this event, which has been specifically designed to give guests an overview of our occupational therapy programme, and specifically you will hear from our course director, Dr. Mandy Graham, who will cover a variety of topics relating to this programme. So just to give a quick introduction to St George's, we are the UK's specialist health university, and we share our site with St George's Hospital in Tooting, which makes us really distinctive as a health university. At St George's, our students are immersed in a healthcare setting, and we see this as a real benefit for our students. We have a number of facilities on site, such as an extensive library, anatomy and dissection facilities, a museum of human diseases, and simulation suites. If you'd like to find out more about the university and what we offer, then please do visit our website. A link will be posted in the chat to direct you to the appropriate place. St George's is home to over 5,500 students studying undergraduate, postgraduate, professional and doctoral programmes of study. These include courses relating to allied health, science and medicine, as well as programmes focused on research relating to health sciences and medical development. Before we start, you are welcome to interact with us in the chat to the left by asking any questions that you might have about the programme, any general questions about studying at St George's, and any questions or concerns you might have about the application process. And you can just type them in the chat. We will also dedicate some time at the end of the event to address any questions that have come up during the chat. So please do let us know at any point if you have any questions. This event will be recorded, so if for whatever reason you have to leave early or you have some technical difficulties, a link to this recording will be shared with all attendees after the event. So that's all from me. I will now welcome, or actually Mandy's already joined me on the screen, who is our course director for this programme. So I'll hand over to you, Mandy, and I'll just stop sharing my screen.
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Dr. Mandy Graham. I'm the course director of the MSc Occupational Therapy pre-reg programme. It's great to have you with us. If you're here live, that's wonderful. If you're listening back to the recording, that's wonderful too. I'm just going to share my slides, so bear with me one moment and I will take you through a brief presentation to tell you a bit more about the programme. Okay, so in this presentation, I am going to talk to you about occupational therapy, why you should choose this fascinating career, and why you should study at St George's. We're also going to look at the programme content and look at how you actually apply for this course as well. So just bear with me one moment and we'll begin in a second. Apologies about that. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so as I said, we're going to look at occupational therapy, the program here, why you should choose St George's, and kind of what's next in terms of applying for this program. So no doubt you will have read up about occupational therapy, or you wouldn't be here on this virtual open evening with us. Occupational therapy is such a diverse and interesting career, and I know I am biased. I have been an occupational therapist for 24 years. I've been a lecturer for 10 of those years. But occupational therapy, because it's a profession based on providing practical support and advice to patients, service users, and clients around their everyday occupations, it means that it's really varied. So basically, we work with everybody from babies right up until people at the end of their life. So we work right across the lifespan. And we work with people who have been impacted by either illness, disability, aging, or circumstances, and how those things have had an impact on their everyday occupations. We use the term occupations. This means our meaningful activities and things which bring you satisfaction and purpose in life.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mandy. I'm afraid that your slides have disappeared. Would you like me to share those on your behalf, or do you want to share them?
Apologies. I will just try one more time. Sincere apologies. Kerry, could you let me know? Could you see the slides now?
Yes, I can see those. Thank you.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Sorry. So
Uh,
sorry, Mandy. They've gone again.
oh, okay. I will let you share them if that's okay, Kerry.
Yeah, no problem.
So while Kerry's sharing the slides, I'll just talk a little bit more about occupational therapy. So yeah, it's such an interesting and varied career because we work with anybody and everybody whose daily occupations have been impacted by illness, disability, aging, or life circumstances. So it means that you get to work once you're qualified in such a variety of clinical settings, and also in schools and prisons and community settings. It's such a varied career. So I'm guessing you might have picked occupational therapy or be thinking of occupational therapy because you're probably quite creative, you're probably quite good at solving problems, and you like kind of helping people. If that's true, then this is the career for you. If you could move to the next slide, please, Kerry. So what do we do? Well, occupational therapists help people engage in their most meaningful occupation. So we're all different, aren't we? We're all unique as human beings. And for what's important for one person is different to the next person. But we're the only profession that uses meaningful occupation as a therapeutic tool. And that's why we work in such a variety of settings, because what we do in everyday life impacts across everything that we do, basically. From the minute we get up out of bed on a morning, the things that we do during our daily routine, the roles, the responsibilities we have, and also kind of what brings us satisfaction and purpose in life as well. So occupational therapy has fantastic career prospects. There's a link on the screen here to the Choose OT website, which has been set up by the Royal College of Occupational Therapists. On there, you can see some stories of people who've studied occupational therapy. One of them is one of my ex-graduates from another program, talking about his story of doing the MSc program. It's really interesting to look on there and hear from the people who studied these different routes, and definitely go on and look at the MSc programs on there and see what people are saying about studying on this accelerated route, because it's really exciting. Next slide, please, Kerry. So why St George's? Well, I've actually worked at 3 universities before. and this is my third university. What I really like about St George's, and I can say this because I've worked at other universities, I like that it's a specialist health university. There's something quite special about that. You know, as Kerry said, we're based on a hospital site. It's really unique. You're passing in the corridor, people, going from ward to ward and going from meeting to meeting, multidisciplinary connections. It's really, really inspiring as a healthcare student. Um, because of our unique status as well, you're surrounded by other students who are like-minded. They've all want to come to train to be a health professional as well. So that makes it really special. And I think because we're bespoke and unique, we're relatively small in terms of university sizes, but that means that everybody is really friendly and there's really good kind of relationships across courses as well. So that's what I like about it based on my experience. Our students come out with really good grades as well. So with the Occupational Therapy MSc programme, you might be aware that we started in 2023. So if you're looking at entry for 2024, that would be our second rollout of the programme. So we don't have data yet from our MSc programme, but what we can tell you is our BSc programme, a high proportion of our students complete with a first or a 2-1 degree. So you can be assured that you're coming to a university with good grade prospects as well. We also have really good employability. So our stats from our BSc programme are that 93% of our graduates are in study or work within 15 months of the course. With occupational therapy, it's particularly high in terms of people tend to go straight into a job as an occupational therapist. So you can be certain that that's really kind of well placed for you in terms of getting straight into your career and climbing the career ladder as well. Our student satisfaction, so on the BSc programme, it's measured by the National Student Satisfaction Survey, the NSS, and that receives really high satisfaction scores from our students. Because our MSc programme is relatively new, we don't have our data yet from our P-test survey, which is a postgraduate survey, but we know from our informal module evaluations and our feedback in class from our current MSc students who started with us in 2023, the satisfaction is really high as well. I'm really pleased to report that. And I'm going to share with you some of the quotes that students have given me permission to share with you about what they like studying occupational therapy and what they like about St George's. So I'll do that in a moment. We do have quite small cohorts at St George's, which is wonderful. And that's one of the benefits that students have talked about to me. So our current cohort is 17 students, and joining in 2024, we're looking at around 20 to 24 students in a cohort. So you're coming to a really friendly course where everybody knows everyone. You're not just another number. You're not just somebody else sat in a big lecture theatre. I know all my students. I know their names. I know what they like to do and what their challenges are. I also know if in class they're not themselves. So if we're in class and somebody's usually quite chatty, I'll pick up if they're not quite themselves that day, and I'll have a discreet word and check that they're all right. We really genuinely do care about our students here at St George's. Our cohorts are really diverse as well, because obviously you're studying at a university in London. It's fantastic. We've got a rich diversity of students from all walks of life who bring fantastic experiences, and particularly on the MSc, we get mature students, we get students who are parents, students who are coming straight from an undergraduate degree, some students have come having another career. It's a really rich mix. It's fantastic to bring all that into our learning, and we learn from each other. We have an excellent team of experienced lecturers and researchers at St George's. So you're learning from a wide variety of staff with different clinical experiences. So in occupational therapy, as I said, because we work in such a variety of clinical areas, some of our lecturers, they've specialised in paediatrics, I specialised in mental health, another colleague specialised in trauma and orthopaedics, for example. We've all got different things to bring, and we often share our anonymised case studies and experiences from practice to help you put your learning into a really authentic kind of setting. We've got our dedicated teaching spaces as well for occupational therapy. We often use the Art of Living suite. So if you've been on a campus tour or you plan on coming on a campus tour, do check out the Art of Living suite. It's basically a simulated a suite of someone's flat. So it's got a kitchen area, a bedroom area, it's got a separate bathroom area as well. So we do lots of our practicals and role plays within the flat as if we were in someone's home, because as occupational therapists, we're often working not just in hospitals, but also in the community, in people's homes, home environments as well. St George's has got a great library, and we've got the latest textbooks on occupational therapy, a really mix of diverse reading lists from the global north and the global south, lots of access for you in terms of ebooks, so you're not having to purchase. We would never say you had to buy any textbooks. We have everything at hand for you. We have fantastic academic librarians who support you as well. We've also got our additional spaces that we use on the programme. So for example, the Pathology Museum, when you study anatomy and physiology in your first module on this programme, you get to go and visit the Pathology Museum, which is always highly rated by students on the programme. Next slide, please, Kerry. Thanks. So the programme details then. So our course is validated by the Royal College of Occupational Therapists. So on successful completion of this programme, you can apply for membership with the Royal College of Occupational Therapists. You're also then eligible to register with the Health and Care Professions Council, HCPC, and you need this registration to practice as an occupational therapist in the UK. We are also validated by the World Federation of Occupational Therapists as well, which is really exciting. And that means that this qualification allows you to practice in many, many countries overseas as well. It's a 2-year accelerated program. So the merits of this course are that you get your qualification in 2 years. It's quite an intense delivery. We do 45 weeks of the year, and we do have an 80% attendance minimum for all our modules. You also do a minimum of 1,000 hours on practice placements. You'll do 4 practice placements over the 2 years. They range from 4 weeks through to 9 weeks in length. So a third of the programme is spent on practice placement, which is really exciting, and that's what our students love as well, going to put into practice the theory and the skills that they learn in class. They then go and get to do that on practice placements, and we have a huge variety of practice placements across the London area. We have placements in all different specialities. We learn via a problem-based learning curriculum. This might be something that you've done before, it might be something new to you. Don't worry, we do a whole induction about problem-based learning, what that means, but it basically, in a nutshell, you're working in groups of around 8 or 9 students, and you are working as a group, and you have to kind of solve or kind of work on problems, case studies set to you every 2 weeks or 1 week when we speed things up in the second year. And you really benefit from learning from each other. So it's a fantastic way to learn in a group. And we do that twice a week. Okay, I'm now going to share with you some comments from our current cohort of MSc students. So I will now just share my other screen, so bear with me one moment. Kerry, yep, there we go. Bear with me one moment. Okay, so I asked our current 17 students on the MSc programme what they like most about studying at St George's, and these are some of their responses. They said the cohort is really friendly, they love the lecturers, they said it's a really supportive environment. The fact that St George's is based in a hospital site gives you a chance to meet various healthcare professionals. Um, and they enjoy the fact that it's really kind of inclusive as well. So now I'm going to share with you what they said about the program. Okay, so they like studying occupational therapy because of its broad nature, the fact that it's really inclusive and you get to work with lots of different people. It helps them practice in a holistic way, and it makes a difference to people's lives. You know, it's a really positive impact that you're making. And finally, I asked them what they enjoyed most about this particular course, about the MSc program. They said the small cohort, it's really friendly. They said they liked the lecturing team. Honestly, this was their true opinions. I hadn't bribed any of them. Um, they said that lecturers are really enthusiastic. It motivates them to study. They really enjoy the practical sessions, and uh, the focus on practice and the structure of the program as well. So that's some feedback from our current cohort. As I said, that's, it's all well and good for me to say how wonderful the program is, but I hope that's been helpful to see some of the feedback from the current cohort as well. I'll stop sharing my screen now, and then Kerry can come back with the PowerPoint slides. Thank you. So these are the academic modules and the placements that you will study on the programme. So over the 2 years, in year one, you start off with a module called Occupational Beings. This is where you study anatomy and physiology. You get to learn about the theory of occupation and how that enhances health. And you're assessed via an anatomy and physiology exam and an activity analysis. The second module is learning all about the foundational theory of our practice. And there's two assessments there, one of which is an OSCE, which is assessing your communication skills. So we use actors as simulated patients, and you get to interact with the actors and practice your communication skills. And the other assessment is a written assessment based on a case study. The third module that you study is called Maximising Occupational Performance, which is very much advancing the skills that you've learnt throughout term one, studying lots of different clinical groups, working with lots of different settings as well. We also then study in the first year the foundations of research. So you get to learn all about research methodologies, and you write a research proposal, which then in year two, you actually get to carry out. There's two placements in year one. They are 4 weeks long and 6 weeks long. And every time you have a placement, the week before you go out, you come into uni for a practice placement preparation week, where we do lots of skills training with you. We do lots of practical things, and really get you kind of prepared for going out on placement, working with real life patients, service users and carers. In year two, you start off the term looking at contemporaneous practice. So you're very much looking at kind of like leadership skills, management skills. You're looking at kind of service development, how we enhance our service as occupational therapists. You start your research dissertation in year two. So this is a large part of the program, so it's worth 60 credits, and you're assigned a research supervisor, and you get to carry out the proposal that you wrote in year one. So that can be a quantitative study, a qualitative study. You get to pick. You get to pick the methodology, and you get to pick what you are going to research, which I think is really exciting. And not all programs do that. So the fact that you actually get to carry out primary research is a really, really unique selling point for us, and we're really proud of that fact. You also get to do a module called Contributing to Communities, which is all about studying more unique role emerging areas of practice for occupational therapists. So, for example, working with a homeless population, working in prisons, working with refugees and asylum seekers. So, really kind of interesting, kind of more contemporary practice in that one as well. And you've also got your placements 3 and 4 in year 2, which are longer. They're 9 weeks each. So that means you're really consolidating your learning in practice placement settings. And we have placements across the London area. So that means that you have a mix of placements in physical, mental health, learning disability settings, with paediatrics, with older people, in the community, a really wide range of settings, which is fantastic. So that's our kind of a brief overview of our curriculum. And we do use a variety of assessment methods across the curriculum. Often students want to know how many exams are there. There's one anatomy and physiology exam, and there's one practical exam, which is your OSCE, where you are being assessed on your communication skills. Other than that, we have case studies, we have reports, we have presentations. It's a real mix of assessments. Next slide, please, Kerry. This is showing you a typical timetable. So when we designed this program, we are acutely aware of the fact that postgraduate students are often juggling lots of different things as well as study. You might have a part-time job, you might be a parent, you might have other caring responsibilities or life demands. So we designed the program as a blended learning approach. What that means is the majority of your time will be on campus, face-to-face lectures. So you're in for 2 full days. On this schedule here that we've currently got, it's currently all day Tuesday and all day Thursday, with half a day online learning on a Wednesday currently. So we do that so that we compress our time on campus, because if you're making that journey, you might have a big commute. We're aware of the cost of living crisis, of paying for your travel costs and things like that. So when you're coming in, you're not just coming in for 1 hour, 2 hour lectures, you're coming in for 6 hours on those campus days. So that leaves Mondays, Fridays and Wednesday afternoons as non-contact time. So there is studying to be done because this is a full-time program, but you can be flexible as to when you do your study. So some of our students currently, they say to me, Mandy, I work on a Monday, I do my studying on a Friday, I sometimes do a bit at a weekend. It can be flexible around your other demands. We don't start lectures till 10 a.m. That's to give you a chance to get across London if you are commuting, or do the school run if you are a parent. And we finish lectures by 5. So you'll always be finished by 5. There are no evening lectures, there are no weekend lectures. I know that's often a common question from students. And also you get a set pattern to your timetable. So our current students, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays on campus, Wednesday online, so they know that and they can plan around those factors. So I hope that reassures you, it helps you to know that. Next slide, please, Kerry. So our program, we cover lots of different elements on our program. We cover obviously the theory and practice of occupational therapy. It's underpinned by something called occupational science. I did my master's in occupational science. It's a really interesting study of humans as occupational beings. So we are renowned for that. We're renowned for being quite contemporary on this program. We look at health inequalities, we look at the dependency between well-being, the occupation and environment. We have a strong emphasis on evidence-based practice, particularly on the master's program, where we're teaching you the skills to critically appraise literature. You also get to do, as I said, a research project of your choice, of your chosen methodology, and you might have done your undergraduate degree and done some research using quantitative, and you think, actually, I want to try doing qualitative, or vice versa. You can decide. You will get a dedicated research supervisor. They'll either be a specialist, they'll either be specialist in that clinical area that you're studying, or it'll be because of their methodology expertise that you get assigned them. We also, as I said, have our fantastic practice placement opportunities. We get really good feedback about our placements. We've got some lovely practice placement educators out there who we work with on a regular basis in terms of a partnership working with them. So they assess you on practice placement. So it's not the lecturers assessing you on placement, it's the practice placement educators. They get to see you actually carrying out occupational therapy on a supervised basis. And we obviously increase the levels of responsibility in terms of the practice placements that you go on over the 2 years. Next slide, please, Kerry. Thanks. I just thought to include some photographs of our current MSc cohort because when you go to these types of open days, it's, as I said, it's all well and good a lecturer telling you how wonderful a program is, but I wanted to show you some photos of our genuinely happy students looking like they're enjoying being part of St George's and being part of this program. We learn from a variety of methods. Here you see some of our students getting quite creative. They're making a model out of some craft materials. The other group had chosen Lego to construct something. We had a celebration event for National Occupational Therapy Week as well. So we do try to really think about how you learn because we've all got different learning styles. So we do lots of kind of practicals and creative activities as well. And on the next slide, you'll also see some photos of our students. So here you'll see our students, they're doing an escape room on the left-hand side of the screen. They were up against the clock and we had two groups competing against each other and they had to solve an escape room puzzle. So that was really good fun. And on the right-hand side, you will see some pictures. The top one is from our OT week celebrations. We were out, we had an engagement stall in the hospital talking to members of the public about occupational therapy. So the students loved this because it was a great practice at explaining what occupational therapy is and how it can help people across a variety of different life challenges. And the bottom picture is us practicing for our OSCE examination. So we're practicing our role play and our communication skills in pairs. So that's a few photos from our cohorts. And I also want to mention the support available for students. We've got fantastic support systems at St George's. There's help with your academic skills. So we've got Study Plus, which is our online support with academic skills. We've got our Academic Success Centre, and you can book individual appointments and go and take an essay plan. They'll also help you with referencing, help you with kind of critical writing skills, things like that. So they're not expert in occupational therapy, but they're experts in learning and how to write the best possible essay. So you've got all that available to you. You will get assigned a personal tutor from the lecturing team. So that will be an occupational therapy lecturer who'll get to know you and get to know, what your hopes and aspirations are, what your challenges are for completing the programme, and you'll meet with them at least once a term to check in, see how you're doing, and they can signpost you to any further support that you need. We have our Student Life Centre, which has a fantastic, it's like a fantastic one-stop shop, I guess, for all the support that you need. So that's on site on campus. You can go and see them and they'll help signpost you to different services that we have. We have our welfare support. We've got a free counselling service that you can access as a student. It's totally confidential. We don't know as lecturers if any of our students have accessed that service. It's free and confidential to you. We've got our disability advice team as well, who are great at making sure that students who require any reasonable adjustments have got those in place. Might be that they need extra time in exams, or they need learning materials in a certain format. We can arrange all that for you. If you do have any additional needs, please do let us know as soon as you can do, so that we can make sure that's all in place for you before the start of term. And you've also got each other. So because it's a small cohort, you've got your peers and you learn from each other, you support each other, and you've also got support from things like the Students' Union as well. So lots of different services for you. And next slide, please, Kerry. So in terms of the next steps, so hopefully that's provided a good overview for you about the programme. If you have any queries, you can contact us. We've got some contact details coming up in a moment. But the process that you go through is that you would obviously submit your application via the UCAS route. And we check that for appropriate qualifications. You need to have a personal statement as part of your application, and show us or demonstrate to us that you've done some relevant volunteering or work experience. Now, we totally appreciate that nowadays it can be quite difficult to get direct work experience with an occupational therapist. So if you're not able to do that, then you can also demonstrate to us other volunteering experiences you've had, or work experience, part-time job, or perhaps a previous career that is relevant to the profession. So if those experiences are showing caring skills, communication skills, empathy, for example, collaboration, working with different team members, that's all good to put down on your personal statement. You can also talk in your personal statement about how you've looked up and researched what occupational therapy is. That always goes down well, so that we know that you are committed and serious about your studies and that this is the career for you. And then successful applicants will be invited to our MMIs, which are our multiple minute interviews. This is a really effective way of us ensuring that we are getting those students with the right attributes to be on our course and training to be as a healthcare profession. So you'll find that this type of assessment is really quite common on occupational therapy programs these days. It's all about values-based recruitment, making sure that students, for example, have, caring and compassion, empathy, good listening skills, all those type of soft skills. That's what we're assessing on our MMIs, and you go around 6 stations and you're assessed by 6 different people, so it's very objective. Some places only have perhaps one person assessing you. Here we have 6 different assessors, so it's really kind of fair, and we score you on your interactions with us. Often you're asked a question about a scenario, what would you do in this circumstance? So we're not assessing you on your knowledge of occupational therapy during the MMIs. It's really picking up, have you got the right attributes to train to be a healthcare profession? So think about communication, team working, empathy, that sort of thing. Okay. Next slide, please, Kerry. So other things that are conditions of having a place at St George's on the occupational therapy programme is we do have to have satisfactory occupational health clearance, satisfactory DBS check, and we cannot accept students who failed an occupational therapy programme elsewhere. These are really common factors on other occupational therapy courses across the UK, so there's nothing different there. These are things in place, obviously, to check that we're accepting people with the right attributes and qualities for the programme. Okay. And next we have some contact details, so you can take a screenshot here or you can watch the recording back. If you have any queries about the course itself or assessments or the curriculum, the delivery, anything like that, I'm probably best to answer those. So you can send me an email if you don't ask your question this evening. So if you're watching back, you can always drop me an email and ask me some questions. We've also got Sarah, my lovely colleague who is our admissions tutor, and Sarah can answer all your questions about fees and kind of admissions process and things. So if you're here live with us tonight, obviously feel free to pop your question in the chat and Kerry and the team will answer those questions as well. But if you are listening back and you've missed the live chat, you can also contact myself and Sarah and the admissions team as well to answer any questions. Please feel free to ask us anything. And I can see there's a question in the chat about the scholarship. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So do keep your questions coming in. That's great. So I think that's it from my slides, I think, Kerry. Yeah, great. So I'm going to hand back to Kerry now. I hope that's been useful for you as a kind of a brief overview of the programme. But if you have got any questions, please do put those in the chat and I'll hand back to Kerry. Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you, Mandy. That was really, really useful. I even learned something about the programme that I hadn't learned before. So thank you so much for sharing all of that really important and insightful information about the programme and what it's like to study. And I really valued hearing the feedback from the students that you recorded on Menti. That was really wonderful. We do usually try to have a student at these events, but unfortunately we couldn't make it happen today. But hopefully the feedback that Mandy had collected and shared really provided a snapshot of what it might be like to study on this programme at St George's from a student's perspective, and such positive comments throughout on all of those questions, so thank you. There is a question, I think, in the chat about scholarships. I did just want to draw your attention to the information we have available. There is information on our website about this, and a link to that will be put in the chat if it hasn't been already. But basically, we have for the 2024 starting cohort, we have scholarships available of £3,000 for 4 people, and essentially those will be paid as a tuition fee discount. So that amount will be taken off your tuition, I think, for the first year. And what we are looking for, we actually have a lot of eligibility criteria on our website. So we do recommend you going and having a look at that to gain a sense as to whether you might be eligible. You don't need to do anything, just applying by the UCAS January deadline, which is on the screen here, is all you need to do, and you will be automatically assessed against our scholarship criteria. But things we are going to be looking at are your reference, your personal statement, your academic qualifications that you are applying with, so your degree, and we will also look at your interview performance, the MMI that Mandy mentioned. So obviously to get a scholarship you have to be successful and be made an offer to study with us, and then of those people who are made offers to study with us, 4 people will be awarded a scholarship. So as I say, please do go to the website because there is a lot more information on there about that. And if you do have any specific questions about scholarships, you are best to contact our course inquiries team, who will be best placed to handle those. And I'll share the contact details for that team right at the end of this event. So I will stop sharing my screen now. Fabulous. So we thought it would be really helpful, firstly, to just address any questions in the chat. I know that our colleagues have been replying to questions throughout the event, but there might be some that we think are relevant to bring to the forefront of this event, just to so everyone watching and everyone who's watching this back can be aware of that information. We also have some really I think helpful student voice responses from a student called Lauren, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but she has shared some feedback with us that we think will be really helpful to share. and anything else that we think is really relevant for you as prospective students for this programme to be aware of before we reach time at 6:30. So maybe it would be nice to start with, Mandy, some of Lauren's responses, just to kind of paint a picture of that kind of student experience side of things. I think the first question is just a really nice one to start with. What do you like studying about St George's? Do you want to read that out for me, Mandy? Because I think that would be quite nice to hear.
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
Lauren, first year MSc students at the moment, she said, I love that it's such a multicultural, diverse university where there truly is a society event for everyone. And there really is lots and lots of societies. I didn't mention that. Since St George's is a healthcare university, it feels as though you are part of a community of students with similar values and aspirations, which is really comforting and motivating. I also think it's a great university for commuters like myself, as they have microwaves to heat up food, a tea and coffee station, and even free pot noodles if you forget your lunch. So that's great from Lauren. Yeah, so the Students' Union, isn't it, Kerry? They offer a space for students to bring their own food. You know, you don't have to be buying food. So we do think about things like cost of living and things like that as well.
Yeah, and we do have a cost of living hub as well. So we actually have a bank of resources on our website specifically designed to address the cost of living situation that many students are facing and find themselves in, which actually is accessible to anyone. If you go onto our website and search cost of living, you'll be able to see what resources are available there to students to have a look at that. I think it might be nice to just look at a couple of questions. We've had quite a few questions tonight, which is really lovely to see. I know it's already been answered, but I think it's probably helpful to just come to the placement questions. There was a couple of questions about, can you provide examples of a couple of our placement sites? Will any placement specifically be at St George's? But also, are there set timings to placements, and that kind of thing, which might be helpful to understand, particularly for those who have other responsibilities that they'll need to plan for?
Sure, they're really good questions. Thank you for asking those. So our placements are timetabled into our curriculum, so they do occur at set times during the year. They are full time, so you'd be going on placement for kind of 37 and a half hours a week typically. Most services are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 or 8:30, 4:30. We do work with some services that are 7-day services. The good thing about our placement allocations is that our placements team send all our students a kind of preferences form when they start at university. And the form allows you to put down anything you want the team to take into consideration when they are allocating you a practice placement. So, for example, if you are a parent and you have caring responsibilities, or if you have any additional needs and find traveling quite tiring or anything like that, or if, for example, you have a lot of experience already in pediatrics and you'd really like to do a different clinical area, you can put that down. Or if you really do want pediatrics and that's your dream job at the end of all this, you can put that down. So it's like a preferences form. It's not a guarantee, but we do manual allocation of placements. And as I said during my course talk, I've actually worked at 2 other universities, and some of the larger cohorts of occupational therapy courses do kind of automatic allocations for placements. They put your name in a spreadsheet, press a button, and you get allocated any placement. Here at St George's, we take a kind of more bespoke, personalised approach. We want to make sure that the learning experience on practice placement is going to be right for you. They are all full-time placements. but we can obviously take into consideration some of those things around reasonable adjustments or any preferences. And so I hope that helps reassure people. The other question was about examples, wasn't it, of placement sites? So we do have quite a few placements at the St George's site. St George's is a physical acute hospital, so lots of specialities at St George's, like trauma and orthopaedics, neurology, stroke, respiratory, hands and plastics, for example. We also have placements at a mental health trust. St George's, the mental health trust, so you might be working on the inpatient wards there. We have acute wards, forensic mental health wards, learning disability settings. We also have placements with our local councils, so you might be on placement with a council in social services, going to visit people in their own homes, for example. You might have a placement in primary care, really all over. We do work in partnership with other universities across the district, and we have kind of like a fair allocation of placements model that we work in partnership with, and we take into account, you know, your home location. So you might be a student and moving to St George's, which means, you know, you might be in university accommodation, or you might be living an hour and a half from St George's and commuting in. So we try and find placements near to your home address or wherever it is you would be travelling from, if possible. Does that help?
Thank you, Mandy. That's such useful information. And I'm always really proud of the approach that St George's takes to placement allocation. We take a much more holistic approach, and I think that's just so helpful for our students, because in supporting them in that way, they're more likely to be successful. So that's wonderful. There is a question about the NHS Learning Support Fund. I can't speak to the percentage of students, but I can speak to who it's for. Essentially, if you are applying to and you enrol on a programme of one of the approved healthcare programmes that is approved for this grant, and you are a home student, which basically means you are eligible for student loans and maintenance loans, you don't need to be accessing those funds, but you just need to be eligible for them, then you will be eligible to apply for and receive this funding, and it's a minimum of £5,000. So there may even be additional funding available to you depending on your circumstances. So if you are a home student and you do receive an offer to study occupational therapy, it's really worth being aware of that NHS Learning Support Fund. My colleague has put the link in the chat for you, just to have an understanding of when those application deadlines are and what's involved. But there is more information on the NHS Business Service Authority website, which kind of unpacks the eligibility and application process for you. There's a question about degree subjects. So Sarah Wink, who's our admissions tutor, isn't here, but it does need to be in a related subject, which is typically those who have studied a healthcare or science programme. But there's sometimes additional assessment that goes into those of you who've kind of studied overarching subjects that have kind of covered a bit of science and that kind of thing. And if you do apply, then Sarah, who's our admissions tutor, she will kind of herself, she will assess those and determine your suitability for the programme based on what you've studied. So what I would say is, if you're not sure and you'd like a bit of advice, you can contact the course inquiries team about your specific degree that you're studying, and we can see if we can help you with gain a bit more confidence in your application. And again, those contact details will be put up at the end. Oh, great question from Amelia. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the contributing to the community portion of the programme?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. This is probably, I think, my favorite module on the program. And it's all about kind of thinking about, as a profession, you know, that we're not We don't just work in traditional settings like hospitals and schools and community settings. We also work with populations and groups of people who are at risk of ill health, often through circumstances, often through health inequalities or deprivation, for example. So it's a really kind of role emerging area for occupational therapists. I've done quite a bit of work in the past in these areas. I've set up an occupational therapy role within a homeless service and had students going into that. So we're really kind of like promoting these types of career options for our students, and that's why we study it as a module. We also look in those types of in that module, at other groups of people that we might work with, for example, gangs, or we might work with people who are struggling because they're not in work or education, or we might be working with people who are from released from prison, for example. We also look in that module, which my PhD was in, is perinatal mental health, working with mothers who've experienced mental health either during pregnancy or after giving birth. So these are all quite kind of new and emerging areas of occupational therapy practice. So really exciting, and yeah, I'm a bit biased, but it is my favourite module and I'm leading on that this year. So yeah, looking forward to that. I hope that helps. Great question.
Thank you. And there's also another question from Anna Maria based on curriculum around the sensory integration. Sorry if you just covered that. Is that something that we include in this
Oh,
programme?
yeah. So when we study paediatrics and working with young people, when we study learning disabilities, we do look at sensory integration. It is quite a controversial topic. The research literature is divided on its effectiveness, but we do study it, and that's part of being a master student, to be honest, to be critically appraising these approaches and thinking, actually, what is the evidence base? So we teach you all the skills to how to critically appraise interventions and approaches that are used in practice. So yeah, we do study that, and Sarah, our admissions tutor, and Rosie have a background, my other colleague, have a background in paediatrics and sensory integration.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mandy. I think we'll stop the questions there, just because I'm aware of the time. But I really thank you all so much for your really thoughtful questions, and it's really important that you gauge as much understanding about this programme as possible and the opportunities it can give you. So, and thank you so much for your engagement. I do just want to and I do have a slide to share, but I did just want to come back to our feedback from Lauren and just pick out one more of her answers, her responses. And we asked her how she's found studying at a postgraduate level, and how that transition went from undergraduate to postgraduate, because we're aware that might be something that applicants are slightly anxious about. So we always ask this because we think it's really helpful for our pre-registration programs. So Lauren has said that she's found studying at postgraduate level a step up from the bachelor's degree, but has felt well supported and equipped throughout the process. At the start of the course, it was made clear what the difference in expectations are, and were provided with several sources of support to help with this. So, for example, referencing sessions in the library, assignment help with the Academic Success Centre that Mandy mentioned, and also wellbeing support. So, from our students themselves, their recognition that it is a bit of a challenge kind of transitioning between the bachelor's and the master's programme, but also recognising that with hard work and seeking support that is available, you can be successful and really enjoy the programme. So just before we close, I'm just going to share my screen. We would really value your feedback. We'd love to know how this event was for you, if it was helpful, if there's anything else we could have included within this event. There's a QR code on the screen, and my colleague will be sharing a link in the chat. So if you are able to, it shouldn't take you any more than a couple of minutes to complete this short survey just to let us know how you found this event. We would really be grateful for that, because it helps us to cater our events for the next cohort of prospective students who are coming through. I also did just want to remind you about the UCAS application deadline as well, which is the 31st of January, and that's 6 p.m. UK time. I will say that if you are applying as an international student, you are able to submit a late application, but we really encourage you to apply by the 31st of January deadline. So please just bear that in mind. And there on the screen as well are the different communication channels that you can use to get in touch with us. So our course inquiries team email address there. You can speak to any of our students about their experience of St George's through Unibuddy, and a reminder there of our course team's email addresses for both Mandy and Sarah. So I just want to thank you all again so much for attending this evening and for giving us your time, and we hope that you have found it a valuable session, and we are really looking forward to welcoming applications from you, meeting you at your interviews, and hopefully welcoming you to our St George's community in the autumn. So thank you so much. We hope you have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Thank you.